This is the World Innovators Podcast with your host, Donna Peterson.
Hi there, this is Donna Peterson, and this is the World Innovators Podcast. I am so excited to be finally starting this podcast. It is something I have wanted to do for a very long time, but something always came up. Either another big project came up or my head thinking, who's really going to listen to this? Is there really an interest? Is it worth my time to do this? But then when I went out into the marketplace and I started to speak to some of my clients or business owners or executives that I know, and I said, hi, I might start this podcast. What do you think? And they're like, yeah, go ahead and do it. We'd love to be interviewed. And I was like, okay, here we go. I love talking with people. And every day I am talking with publishers and editors around the world in industry specific magazines. And that's when I realized some of those conversations I have with those individuals is so valuable to so many people. And so why keep it just between myself and them? Let's put it out there for everyone to hear because, with marketing right now, we've got to make sure we're using quality sources and we're getting in the right places. And that's why I think it's important for me to finally be sharing all this information. So in the World Innovators Podcast, there are 3 questions I am going to ask every time I sit down with an interviewee. And that is, 1, what do you see as the biggest trends in 2021? I know we've all heard this from everyone. I probably get emails every day saying this is the new biggest trend, but different trends for different industries. So that's going to be interesting. And then also what channels are working. Do they see one channel over another working better than others? And the third thing is, how do they energize themselves in order to keep the marketing channels or their marketing offerings, or if they're a business owner, their marketing plan energized, innovative, and creative? So those are the 3 questions I'm going to sit down with each interviewee and discuss with them. But I thought I better give you my answers before we get started and before I start talking to different people. So here I go. I'm going to interview myself. The first question, what do I see as the biggest trends in 2021? The biggest trend, if you want to call it that, is going to be relationship marketing. You are going to have to really know your audience. And I don't mean just what title and industry they're in. I mean really know them. You've got to know what magazines they read, what conferences they used to go to, or maybe they go do virtually now. What social channels are they on? What challenges do they have? Obviously, if you're in the restaurant space, they're running into several challenges since COVID hit. But for other industries, it may not be as apparent. Here's one I don't even know if everyone's thinking about, but with the vaccine, the manufacturing of the vaccine, there's an issue with getting enough syringes to hold the vaccine. So there's going to be different things that we're going to hear from the different editors and publishers and industries that will be enlightening, I think, and we'll see what channels work and how we have to get to know them. But, like I said, it's all going to be about relationship marketing and getting to know them. And people don't want to get those generic email messages from you anymore. In the message that you ever send out, it has to resonate with them. So it has to be the issue they're having. So let's say they're having a supply chain issue. You then would send them some type of information saying, here are 5 steps to keep your supply chain working smoothly, and create an educational piece that maybe has a sales promotion at the end. So with a call to action at the end. And so that's the first thing. It's going to be relationship marketing is going to be the biggest trend in 2021. What channels I see as being the most used, that is a very large question because it depends on what industry you're in. And I know people say, oh, Donna, that's too vague. Come on, tell us what it is. But if you're a food manufacturer, it's a lot different than if you're in metalworking, or let's say you're in the restaurant space. So what channels you use will be different. Do I think there is one channel that will outperform another? No, I don't. Matter of fact, right now, I think it's important to be on several different channels and you space your messaging out so that you can create a cohesive strategy that really nurtures the individual so that they make the decision to buy. Not that you're hitting them with promotions, just saying, buy this, it's the best deal ever. That's not going to work for B2B and for the business. When they're expensive offerings, you have to first educate them to make that decision. And so across the channels, it's going to be a nice, combination of different things. I had a client recently and we did radio ads, we did email blasts, we did banner newsletters, we did a podcast. They interviewed and then they did somewhere they were the sponsors of the podcast. Podcasts are a great way to get your message out there because you are reaching a specific niche, who are listening to the podcast. And if that's the right audience for you, they can be a great channel to use. The third thing I'm going to ask everyone is, how do they energize themselves? Because I believe that in order to be energized, you have to be physically active. And, anyone who knows me, I love health and fitness. That's a passion of mine, but so is marketing. So I'm hoping within this podcast, I'm going to kind of bring my two passions together because they are so much alike. Each one of them has to be done consistently, short periods of time across different channels. So just like you can't always be running, you need some weightlifting, you maybe need some yoga, but you also can't just go out for a 5-mile run and hope that puts you in shape. You'd be better off doing a 20-minute walk every single day and to get you into good shape. And in order to be innovative with great marketing strategies, I do feel you have to keep yourself energized throughout the day to think creatively, because it is easy to stare at your screen or to get bogged down with your day and routine and not think outside the box. So those are the three major questions I'm going to ask every interviewee that I have. But of course, we might go off on a tangent. I'm not going to stop. If they really have something they need to share, I'm going to let them go and share away. When you want to talk about where do I see the podcast or what you can expect from this podcast, well, it's going to be a little bit of everything. I'm probably going to be in different places. I might be on a mountaintop or out on a lake skating. But then hopefully when things get back to normal, I'll be sitting down with some of these people in person. And so we can bring you some really good tidbits of information that can help you with your marketing strategy in the B2B space on what's working and what's not. I'm going to talk with different people. I'm going to talk with business owners. I'm a business owner myself, and I'm constantly being bombarded with marketing messages or advertising opportunities. You've got to do this to get in front of the people. And how I whittle down what I decide to market to or where I decide to advertise, I'm going to talk to other business owners and see what their concerns are. I'm going to talk with publishers and editors, as I mentioned, to find out about their subscribers. What's resonating with their subscribers? What do they see is going on with their publication? Is their subscription base increasing? Are they staying compliant with CAM's ban, or if they're overseas GDPR compliant? So I'm just going to really sit down and talk to them. I'm going to talk to marketing executives. So maybe their whole role is marketing, but a lot gets pushed on marketing. Marketing is now being, they've definitely got a major seat at the table on the direction of a company. And gone are the days of sales is over here and marketing is here. We all know that. Everyone has to collaborate together, because when you can work in a collaborative setting, and if you work with any agencies or anything, if you share information with them, then you're going to be able to reach your goals. If you want to cut people and keep them all in separate sections, there's no way to reach your goals anymore, because it is all about building that relationship with a prospect or a buyer. so that they truly understand or feel that you understand their needs and their challenges. They want you to, the marketing messages they get, it would be almost as if you read their mind about what problems they're having. And so that's exactly where you've got to be. So marketing, as a marketing executive, they have a lot on their plate, because you've got to do a lot of research, and it takes a lot of time to really get to know your audience or a particular individual, searching on LinkedIn, seeing what they're doing, what they're posting. And then, there's also the technology. There's tons of different technology out there. And then, the digital transformation, took a huge leap come COVID. And now a lot of companies are trying to catch up with that. And so there's different softwares out there that you can use, but it's important for marketing, or really every part of an organization, to sit back and think about what they're really going to utilize, and then hone in on just those specific ones. Even with your marketing, I'll always say to people, I start out small. I always want your campaigns to be small, because I want to see what's working and what's not. And if it's not working, hey, let's pivot and go to something else. It's never, oh, this is set in stone for 6 months and we can't change it. No. I'm even doing a banner, I guess you would call it more an audience reach type program, where we're placing banners up in front of specific audiences. And I see a report every week, because if I don't feel like we're hitting the right mark, we change the criteria of the target audience, so that at the end of the month, they've gotten a great response, but they're going to get great analysis of who really was resonating with their banners, who's interested in their products and services. And that information is interesting, because it's not just for that one promotion. They then can take that information back out and use it to, let's say they pull an email list. Well, now they're going to use that same criteria, because they know from the banners that that's what's been responding. And so it's just great if you're able to be nimble and agile. Everyone's hearing the word agile, to pivot based on the responses. And also, when you talk to people, I, do a lot of email blasts for clients, and I'll report back to them. I'll say, okay, here's your open percentage and your click-through percentage, and this is the links. And we'll look at all that information, which is great. That's one stop, though. You have to tie that information into the back end information from the client. And this is what I was talking about, talking with the business owners or the marketing. Everyone has to be collaborating together in order to reach good results, because I could have a list that bombed, in my opinion. Let's say it only got, 1% click rate or less. But if there were 2 really big buyers on that list, guess what? That's then a great list, and it shouldn't get discounted. So our podcast is going to be interesting. It's going to be different places, different people, different topics. We will stick to those 3 main questions, as I mentioned, what trends they see coming in 2021, what channels they see working, and then again, what energizes them to stay invigorated about creating new marketing campaigns, but what do they do physically themselves to keep themselves going? Me, it's always walking outside, but maybe for them it's a walk in a good book, or I don't know, but what energizes them to keep going. So I hope this entices you to listen in and subscribe below, but listen into the next World Innovators podcast. And I look forward to seeing you or hearing from you soon.
Thank you for listening to the World Innovators podcast. For more information about today's topic, email us at dpeterson@worldinnovators.com or call 860-210-8088. And please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a future episode.